Welcome to the Leftovers podcast. We're all here today. We had it was a great episode, but pretty intense, I thought. Some dark subject matters, maybe. And let me just point out, too, that the other day, because we have a Big Brothers podcast every Thursday night at 9:30, and I accidentally made it the Leftovers podcast at 9:30 when I put the name in. So it's Big Brother Thursday nights at 9:30. Anyway.
And I would like to know if Randy is here and if he's going to stay the whole time this time.
I don't know. I don't see anybody yet.
Okay.
I know Ro's not going to be here.
I know Ro's not going to be here, but I have something specific to address her about at the end of the episode anyway.
She'll be here next week to defend her criticism of the episode she thinks is the worst episode in the history of television.
She didn't say that.
I'm pretty sure she said that.
Yay, Randy's here. Hey, Randy.
I think Randy will back me up on that. That Ro did say that she thought. What's that one? I'm drawing a blank on the name.
It's called The Leftovers. The show we're doing is called The Leftovers.
No, The Leftovers. But I forgot the episode that Ro just cannot stand. But anyway.
Randy's here. He's going to stay through the whole thing. The dulcet tones of Nicholas Dunn will not pull him away this time.
Oh, that's right. Because we recorded.
Right.
Yeah, that was too long a day for me. Anyway.
Okay.
We started talking before. We were waiting for someone to get their technical problems taken care of. But Caleb made a good point. This was a great episode for Patty. Patty, she was fantastic in this episode.
We're going into like 2 episodes of the greatest relationship, my favorite relationship on TV ever. And earlier this year, when everyone was in lockdown, Justin Theroux and Ann Dowd actually got together and talked about their time together on The Leftovers.
Oh, really?
And you can find that online. It's very easy to find. It's from like the ATX Television Festival or something like that. It's a really sweet conversation, and there are tears. It's great to see the bonds that were formed. Yeah, they are lifelong like this after this series. So it's great to see it.
I wish I'd known that ahead of time. I would have watched it before you brought that up.
Well, it goes on for a while, so we can.
Anyway, we start off. Kevin wakes up, and Patty, she's gone. She's history. She's left, and he's got the handcuff stuck, to his wrist, and he's like, "Oh, come on!" And then Jill comes in, and she asks where Nora is, and he's like, "Well, goes, can you get the bolt cutters?" Because poor Kevin can't find the key. Jill finds a letter from Nora, and asks, "What did you do?" So right away, she's blaming him again. She blamed him. Kind of, she said, because later on she says this is twice now. Mm-hmm. So was she blaming Kevin for both problems? Yet she doesn't talk to her mom.
I thought while I watched this episode that it was more, and we'll get to that scene when we get to it. But when she said that's 2 times now, that's twice now. It's not so much saying it's your fault that it's twice now, but this is twice now that it's happened to me.
Right.
With a parent.
Because she's definitely sad, and because I said she's not happy, and I think she has every right not to be happy.
Mm-hmm. She's getting a real bum. She's getting a bummer. This episode is a really good Jill episode.
Yeah. Because she's just she's just the kid. You can't pick your parents, right? And she's like I said, we've said 1,000 times, Lori was not a good mother. She kind of tries to defend herself a little bit in this episode. By saying I think she admits she made a mistake, but anyway, I felt bad for Jill in this episode.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that with Patty's very first conversation with Kevin here, we're getting little reminders of things that we're really going to need for next week. Lots of Neil reminders in this episode.
Right? Yeah. Kevin calls Nora, gets her voicemail.
I just love the part where most of my notes consist of dialogue from this episode because it's just so great monologue. And when Kevin wakes up and says she didn't leave me, she wouldn't do that, and then Patty just immediately is like, she would and she did. And it just
it's going to be a hard day.
yeah,
Kevin.
and like you said, when he calls Nora, she's not answering.
Can we not respect what Nora did? I mean, so he's talking to someone who's not there, but she said she would support him no matter what. Is it because he didn't tell her up front, or is she just going, I can't live in this crazy world anymore. I can't deal with it anymore. It's too much. I mean, but she was having people shoot, prostitutes shoot a gun into her chest wearing a bulletproof vest. So I kind of at this point was like, I don't really respect Nora for leaving.
One, I don't respect her for leaving Jill.
Yeah, that too. She should have gave Jill the option to come with her, because I think Jill would have won.
Yeah, I think Jill would have been like, "Yeah, Dad needs some space right now."
That is a good point, because I mean, it's kind of like Jill. I mean, Nora left knowing what Jill had went through with Lori.
Right.
So, but Nora was upset that she woke up and Kevin wasn't there.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a similar thing. Maybe she should have had the knowledge of understanding that, hey, Jill was left too. May not be good for you to just disappear on her.
Right.
But as Caleb was saying earlier in the season, and I now agree with him a little bit, is, Nora has had so much thrust upon her within 2 episodes.
Yes, that's true.
She probably feels like it's a bit of a pile on, and she needs to, if I need to take care of my sister-in-law and a baby, I kind of just need to worry about them for a little bit.
Plus, he did leave Lily on the truck in harm's way. So I can kind of see that maybe she's thinking, okay, he needs to get help, but I can't be here and have him hurt, Lily. Not that he wouldn't do it on purpose, but he is going through certain things. He can't remember what he did that night, and that's why he's handcuffed. The whole thing where he was actually at the lake where the girls disappeared. I guess she doesn't know. Okay, so I'm starting to see it. But again, we're going back to leaving Jill behind. Jill is happy because of Nora, not because of Kevin. She's happy because of Nora. Nora filled that void that she had when Lori left.
Plus, Jill had something to do with the baby there, right?
Right.
The baby and Mary are gone, and now she literally has nothing to do but go curse in church.
Yeah, well, because she stepped up last time and the last episode and helped take care of Mary.
She's been very, very helpful and happy.
So okay,
you have to wonder if a little bit of what happened last episode with Nora is making her want to try to get away or put some distance because of the whole lens theory.
Right.
And although she takes Lily and Mary with her, I feel like that's more of this is a situation I can control. Like Ethan, you said, I can help them. I can't help Kevin. Maybe that's why she didn't even do anything with Jill, because she knows she's the only one that Kevin has if she leaves and takes care of the other two. So because she doesn't know anything about Lori being anywhere close to town at this point. So
I'm curious what Eckhart thinks.
Come on, Lou.
I mean, I agree with what Ethan said. I mean, I can't remember exactly what he said, but I agree with it.
Great, let's move on.
Okay.
I can't remember what Ethan said either. No, but I just jump in. It's fine. It's fine. We just won't watch you speak because it throws me off. No, I you guys changed my mind. I can see why she left Kevin, but I forgot about the lens thing. I forgot that if she does believe that's true, then maybe she doesn't want to put Jill in harm's way. But maybe she should have told Jill that. Because now Jill, I can see what Jill's thinking. I've been abandoned again.
Sure. And
so
and this time blaming her father.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because Nora, like I said, and I think Nora took on the role, not as so much as a mother figure, but as a friend, older sister, someone there to get Jill. Because like we said, Jill is a different person this season, but now she's Old Jill. Jill goes to see Michael in the church, and she's using the F word in church.
And it's so fun.
Fine is not the word she was using.
No, it was another 4-letter F word.
Yeah.
Listen, I got a little bit made fun of last time I said this, and I'll say it again though. Like, Thirsty Jill is back, right? right, in a big way, right?
She's thirsty.
Yeah, she's you know. Did you guys notice the Bible quote on the wall behind them?
I remember the first time around.
I think it's different this time. I don't know. I would have to check. I think it's different this time. It says on the wall, and they both went down in the water.
Oh.
It's interesting. Anyway,
I thought it was a great scene because you see Jill has a tear coming down her. She's obviously upset, and then she goes, "Why can't we just do it go all the way? We can mess around, but we can't go all the way." And he says he doesn't want to do it because he's not sure if he loves Jill. And Jill's like,
"What an a-hole!
What's love got to do? Got to do with it?"
Yeah, right.
Right.
But can we respect Michael for that?
Of course we can.
Yeah, I mean,
but we can also respect the fact that Jill has her wants and desires as well. You know what I mean? And they have to respect each other, whether
can we respect Michael for not lifting a finger to figure out where his missing sister is?
He thinks she departed.
I know. Can we respect that opinion?
In this world, it seems to be a thing people keep talking about.
Mm-hmm. It does, doesn't it?
So, yeah. Now, I did like in this scene, I watch it again in relation to the entire episode. It's definitely also like feeding Michael a lot of information.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He knows more than what he's letting on.
Yeah, he knows a lot about Kevin, and he knows a lot about Kevin from his grandfather. And now he knows even more about Kevin from Jill.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Jill tells Michael that her grandfather did the exact same thing, and then they locked him up in a mental institution, and he heard voices that weren't there. And Michael's like, "How do you know they're not there?" And Jill's like, "Because they're not, obviously." And I think this is where the show talks about, every week I'm like, these people are grasping at beliefs. And I was really surprised when I listened to Lori's monologue later, because it's basically what I've been saying all season. But I think this is interesting because this episode goes from, is Kevin unable to let things go? Is he grasping at this for some reason in order to heal? Is he being haunted? Or is this strictly a case of mental illness and him suffering from something genetically that's been passed down from his dad? So they play a lot with that in this episode.
Well, I think Michael even says, when he says to Jill, he goes, "I talk to someone every day that isn't here." So I think he believes, I think he thinks that Kevin is actually seeing somebody.
Yeah.
I think he believes in that.
Yeah, I think so too. Otherwise, he wouldn't go through this crazy plan that his grandfather has.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Eckhart, what do you think?
I agree with what you just said.
It's gonna be one of those nights. Okay.
Agree with me.
And then I wrote down, "It's a duck."
Yes.
Is this a wire shout out? A wire shout out to the Sabatka?
I can't remember
The
why I
Frank
wrote
Sinatra?
it's a duck. What's a
Because he was saying
But
That'd be season 2.
I don't
right?
know about.
in season 2 of The Wire, there was a man named Frank Sabatka was the main guy, and this guy is learning Russian.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, and they're in the hardware store or the locksmith store.
I wrote down, "It's a duck." That's what Patty said. It's a duck.
Yeah. And I like her sense of wonder. Oh, he's learning a language.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was such a great comment.
Well, then Kevin wants the hardware guy to cut it off, and Patty goes, "Tell him it was a sex thing."
Which comes back later.
Yeah. I did want to go back to the Jill thing because she did, she's saying the F word in church, and she's like, who's telling you that we can't fool around? Jesus, God, the Holy Ghost? I get the three confused. Which one is that? Why aren't you guys talking to me? Hello. I know, I could really use some effing help. And that's what, it just goes back to Michael. Okay, he's talking to somebody who's not there, but like, okay. And then you have Jill who's seeing through it all, because I feel like she, like you said, was thirsty for Michael and was willing to look past the religious thing, even though she's not about that life. And so now that he's kind of, driven this home again, she's like, why am I not being helped? Well, I've went through a lot of crap too. Why not me? So I think this is where Jill's like, okay, this is all a bunch of crap.
Could Jill also be concerned that she could inherit that down the road she could have that problem where she sees people?
Yeah, I think she went to Michael to have a conversation, and all he was concerned about with, don't offend God, we're in the church. And it's like,
Right.
Listen to her, help her, give her advice. If you claim to be a person who gives advice, give it to her, help her.
Yeah. Because I think because when you have something in your family, you can't help but think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And I never really thought about that. She's probably got to be thinking that. Now my dad has it. My grandfather had it.
And at the beginning of the convo, she says, I was right. Told you something was going on with them, and now she's gone. She took
Right.
Lily and left.
Right.
And she said, what happened is my dad is effed up. So it's all revolving around her dad's issues.
Right.
And like you said, she went there to talk to Michael about it, but he was more concerned about offending the imaginary person he talks to.
But I also think that since he believes Kevin, he can't help her. Right. And plus he doesn't want to admit that he knew that Kevin talks to people, right?
Yeah. He doesn't want to admit that to her, that he believes that. And I think he's starting to realize that they're just not really compatible.
No.
You know what I mean? And this is kind of like the end of that relationship, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I found that I was going to save this for the end, but I think it's, warranted to say it here. The final edit of this episode only departs from Kevin's perspective for one scene when Jill visits Michael in the church. The original cut was about 74 minutes long and featured close to 10 minutes of Jill having a little adventures through Miracle. But the producers ultimately decided those scenes undercut the anxiety of following Kevin's psychological journey continuously. Damon Lindelof has cited this as the hardest cut of the second season, particularly as he believes Jill ended up underserved as a character in the season overall.
That's really interesting, because I feel like Jill, there was an episode that we've talked to about before that I was like, this is a Jill episode, and there were times in this episode that I was like, this is a Jill episode. I felt like Jill, Lori, everybody had like real big scenes this episode. Maybe not Nora.
Now you see why actors get upset when their scenes get cut, left on the cutting room floor, because it's not easy filming a scene. Mm-hmm. And especially if she was going through town.
Yeah, she did a lot of stuff.
Different location here. That probably took a week at least to film, and then it just got axed. She still gets paid, but still, that's a lot of work, a lot of emotion. Mm-hmm. I don't know, especially if she's, because in the church she was having, she has a tear. It can't be an easy scene to film when it's like that. Anyway, then Kevin, because Patty won't shut up, he just says, "Shut the fuck up." And the hardware guy's like, whoa. The kid's like going, like,
that's not on my flashcards.
Yeah. They go, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, because he says, no, I'm a police officer. Well, I'll need to see your badge. I need to see yours. Did he think he was a criminal?
He has a broken handcuff on his wrist.
Right.
Do I have to be Anna Lucia? I've watched too much Lost recently, but yeah, when they find Jen and he has the broken handcuff, so yeah, it's suspicious.
Yeah.
Well, there has to be like some kind of code of conduct for locksmiths that's involved in that kind of situation, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have
stuff on there. Make sure they're pink and fuzzy. Is what I say.
Then we have Patty telling an interesting story about a cup. A wishing
Who's
cup.
reading the paragraph? I vote Jack.
A chalice, actually.
Well, I didn't write it all down. So go ahead. You go ahead and read it.
I don't have it. Yeah, I do, but I'm not gonna read it.
Go ahead and read it.
Ugh, I gotta
I
find
get
it. Hey, I found it. Check this out. I'm glad you finally asked, Kevin. There is something you need to do. In Cairo, Egypt, there's an ancient artifact. It's in a museum now. They found it in the tomb of Amenhotep. Scholars call it the wishing cup. Let me move this over here. You need to acquire this cup. It's more of a chalice, actually. It's going to be heavily guarded, but you need to get it any way you can, because once you do, you need to fill it with your
own cum.
Blank. Kevin, then you need to drink it down, every last drop.
And he's like, what?
Yeah.
And then she starts laughing in like one of the best faces I've ever seen.
I'm fucking with you, Kevin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to do. Now this is a massive troll on Lost people that watch the show like Lost, because all this stuff has to go back to the National Geographic.
Because of Cairo and all that stuff.
And all that stuff.
But I like how they did everything that she was saying would have been something that he, because Cairo, he knows about Cairo because of the National Geographic his dad gave him. It's not something that, wait, how would he have known that? Because, shows in the past would do something like this. And like, there's no way that person could have known that. It's like in Star Trek, Wrath of Khan, when Chekhov is the first person to see Khan, he's not in that episode that Khan was on during the television series. So how did he know about Khan?
You read the logs, man. Come on.
I'm done with my rant.
All right.
Let's see, Michael, and then Michael's watching, and he hears Kevin, and Kevin's like, oh. And he throws his bike, and they have the conversation.
Well, wait. First, this is also interesting because this happened a couple times this season. Patty has noticed things before Kevin. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Patty noticed Michael before Kevin.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting to point out.
Yeah, and I think in this scene, the way that they show that is by the fact that like her facial expression changes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's show, not tell, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The other comment I was going to make was that I think it's at this point in the episode where it really feels like Kevin's like in a groove where he's having a conversation with her, right? Like he still gets upset at her, flips out at her, but he's kind of accepting that he's going to go back and forth with Patty or his own consciousness, right?
Well, after that conversation, or after she says all that, he's like, just leave me alone. Please, please, you're destroying my life. And then she, comes back with you're destroying your life. I just get to watch.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like he's looking for all these other places to get help when he shouldn't be doing that. He needs actual help.
I couldn't imagine having to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think we talked about before, where you're, not only hearing voices, but you're seeing the person, and you're seeing the person that you didn't like, obviously didn't get along very well. And you saw that, and you kind of could have been the cause of, the reason she is no longer living, even though she did kill herself. You did bring her to the cabin.
I mean, if you go crazy and you manifest something, it's never something you're like, oh, it'd be great if I could manifest this thing to be next to me all the time.
That's true. Yeah.
It's never going to be like,
yeah,
happy-go-lucky.
I love how Patty says hallelujah when they pull up to the trailer, Virgil's trailer.
Yeah.
It looks like a man to the answer to all of our problems.
Yeah, because Michael gets in, he goes, were you talking to Patty? I know you talked to Patty. He's like, well, my dad, my grandpa, the whole thing. So that's how he knows all the information.
And then we go to Virgil's, right?
Yeah, Virgil. I can't read my writing, though. Virgil says, come on in, but just you.
Right.
Now, do you think Virgil believes Kevin's talking to someone, too? Because he seemed interested every time. Like when Kevin was having that conversation back, what did she say? What did she say?
I certainly hope Virgil believes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's why that's basically he hinted, that's why he did the things he did.
Mm-hmm.
because someone was telling him to do those things. And then Kevin doesn't remember the first time they visit here, and he kind of startles him like this. Okay, you're not asleep. Virgil did. He kind of
slams him on the ground.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He tells him, "You have to die, Kevin." Kevin's like, "What? This is just not cool." And then he says, "Go ahead."
Yeah, that's where we get in the nitty gritty of what Virgil did.
Yeah, he said it was a great scene, and he goes, he once did a terrible thing. He was shot in the chest and the belly.
Before that, Virgil is speaking about that Kevin already tried to jump into the lake, but he said that drowning's not the best way to cross. No exit strategy, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I'd point out for later. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's fine.
Good. Great.
He tells how he battled his adversary and was reborn.
But he didn't battle his adversary. I had a real problem with this time. I had a real problem with Virgil's story. Because his adversary, he didn't have an adversary. He had a
problem.
A problem that was solved by having his, pardon the expression, guys, having his dick blown off.
Mm-hmm.
His foul machinery was blown off, which took away his drive to do those horrible things. So, I mean, I don't know what adversary he did in the hospital while they were patching him up. I don't know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But he wasn't reborn because he did battle with an adversary. He was reborn because he woke up without a penis.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
And we talked about this before. I wonder why Michael is there when he knows what Virgil did to his dad.
Because Michael believes everyone who asks for forgiveness deserves it.
And that's effed up.
Right.
Because they don't.
Right. Well, yeah.
I mean,
In my opinion, some people don't.
You take Michael's scenes, both in season 2 and season 3, and I mean, he's a nice person, but he might not be that astute. I mean,
He's not. It's typical. Oh, I mean, that's why I have so much, like, I guess, real world experience with that. Like, I was Michael at one point, giving Bible verses to people, doing things like that. And when you're raised in a religion, and I mean, we've talked about it. We've talked about it on here. So it's not, crazy to think that he's doing this just strictly based off the Bible, based off what he's reading, what he's hearing in church. He's wanting to save people. He's wanting to save people in this way of not really being able to save people. And this goes back to earlier in the season where Jill was like, "You saved me. Thanks for saving me." And all she was referring to was that he fixed the scene because that's all he did for her. Your actions matter. So.
Did Virgil do any jail time? Do we know that?
He said it happened a long time ago. So in my opinion, and you can tell me if this is wrong, Ethan, because you're the expert. But I thought Virgil was saying that he did this a long time ago to John, and years later, many, many years later, whether it's a repressed memory or what the situation was, John had his revenge, which was shooting him.
Right. Yeah, and that's what it sounds like to me. And still, this is one of the little things on the Leftovers that's still kind of murky. They never actually come out and say who did what to who. At this point, I think Virgil is technically Erica's dad, but I still don't know 100%. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, he's not John's father, or did I completely miss that?
It could. I don't know. I don't know if they've ever made it 100% clear. I could be completely wrong, and they could have made it totally clear, and I missed it. Do you know what I mean? But I always thought
I never thought about that.
Yeah,
that would be like horrible if the person who did that to you when you were young is the dad of the person you end up marrying.
Because I assume they all grew up together in that area.
Small town, yeah.
Small town. So you never know, and I don't think it's specifically spelled out. But
because he obviously hurt Virgil hurt other kids. I mean, it wasn't just John.
That's another thing they haven't made clear.
I thought he kind of hinted at it.
Possibly.
Oh,
But my thing is, if he did all that stuff, why is he so close to the town where he committed these horrible crimes?
He's on the outskirts.
All right.
and like the stupid little pies. No,
Yeah, right.
don't be sending no pies. I mean, Erica. Now that we know, Erica should have went harder in the last episode or whatever when she visited his, trailer, because that's stupid. Like if you're banned to the other side of town or out of the town because of that, you don't get to send me a pie.
Exactly.
And I think that piece of evidence that like Kevin unwraps from Virgil is like one of the main reasons, and the whole like you have to die thing makes him run out of the house.
Yeah. Now, what's with all the light bulbs?
I think there is a famous painting by an African American painter that is a man in like a room with all those lights on it. And I think they've tried to make it look like that, if I remember correctly, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But he's a bit crazy. He's got a lot of jars. He loves, he went to Michael's, got a whole bunch of those jars,
Yeah. He likes his jars. That's true.
He does.
Anyway, but yeah, Kevin goes, yeah, this is crazy. Gets out of here, takes Michael's bike, throws it on the ground, and then drives away. Just takes off. So this is just crazy.
Now, Randy said something. Randy said Virgil must have a pass to get inside and outside of Miracle. I can pretty much guarantee Virgil does not have a pass to get inside of Miracle. He's seen at the visitor center. He's seen at his place, which is outside of Miracle, and he sends these kids to deliver these pies.
Which is even weirder.
Yeah.
But he sees Nora at the convenience store.
He does. There you go.
But I'm not sure if it's in the limits or not.
Right.
It's close to the lake, right?
Which is near the outside, I think, right? Is it just over?
Right.
But it's still over the bridge.
I can't imagine John letting Virgil come into Miracle.
I can't imagine it. Yeah.
Yeah.
As controlling as he is, and on this one, he has every right to keep Virgil out of.
But I guarantee you, John also has some kind of court order to stay away from Virgil.
Oh yeah. You mean John? Yeah, John.
Yeah.
Even though I really had no problem with what John did.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kevin goes into the woods. He's looking for Patty. He's yelling for Patty, and Patty's sitting over there on a log. They're going back and forth, and then Patty slaps Kevin.
But you don't actually see it. You don't see the.
No, you hear it.
You hear it, but you don't see contact happening.
This is the moment in the show where I think when Patty is telling Kevin that perhaps Jill and Nora are better off without him, I think that this is like strictly them showing a physical representation of a suicidal ideation in the form of Patty.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's this conversation and the conversation they have after the firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are like Kevin begging himself to kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying maybe Jill would be better off. I never felt better than I did when I was putting that shard piece of glass in my neck. These really sad things if you think about Kevin telling himself that. And especially her performance in the truck after the firehouse she's just ridiculous the whole episode. She's just amazing.
Yeah.
Is this the scene where in the forest where Patty accuses Kevin of saying something borderline racist?
Yes.
Yeah, she said something about like if I would have said there was a black man on the edge of town,
a magical black man on the edge of town.
Yeah, giving out pies.
What that is.
That's borderline racist, Kevin.
And that comes back a little bit later with the Lori stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin calls Nora again, voicemail, and then he gets a call from the
Lori.
She's at the bridge and wants to talk to Kevin, and he's just like going, could this day get any worse?
I've never been happier to hear Lori's name, and I'll tell you why. Because you want to know, right? Grab some popcorn. No, I'm watching this episode, and the thing I have at the end of the episode is how much of this episode is kind of forgotten sometimes because of the end of it, right? And how much the meat of the meat in this episode is so full. There, when Lori shows up, it is such a massive thickening of the plot.
Right.
All of a sudden she's outside and they say her name and she's at the. You're like, what is going on? Lori's in Miracle. This is how this happens. It really like blindsided me this time. Like how much the pot is getting stirred at this exact moment for the whole series. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I thought it was a great scene. Fantastic scene between the two of them. And she wants to know where Tommy is. She said she talked to Nora last night. And he goes, wait, what? So, if we're going to be, you think Nora would have said, oh, yeah, by the way, your ex-wife called me looking for Tommy. And he looked like he was also shocked that Tommy was with Lori. He goes, wait, he was with you? You?
And that Tommy's talking to Jill via text.
Exactly. So I think this whole thing, he's just like going, I'm not in the loop on anything. No, either, maybe because the state he's in, he probably thinks nobody trusts him or he can't handle this information. Whatever it is, nobody's keeping Kevin, the dad, in the loop what's going on in his own family.
Which makes him feel even more isolated and alone.
Right. And so he's getting mad, like I said, especially with Tommy not talking to Kevin and then finding out that he's talking to Lori. And not only did he talk to Lori, that they did things, that Tommy eventually, the whole hugging thing that Tommy eventually got tired of and said, look, but Lori goes, it was working. People believed it, but Tommy couldn't deal with the lies.
But just like the absolute, I can't say enough about Amy Brenneman in this scene. I can't say enough about Justin Theroux because he just goes completely unhinged and then she realizes it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. She goes, what, are you all right? Or something like that.
And my favorite part and the thing I noticed the first time on this rewatch, remember how I said an off-ramp that I would have given you $1 million and a bet against that Where Is My Mind piano coming in that off-ramp episode? Where Is My Mind, the rock version, was with Kevin in the second episode, and in Lori, the piano one was in the third. Here we have both of them coming together. They do the piano version, Lori's theme, and they do the guitar version, Kevin's theme, and they mash them together, and they're like, here are the Garveys together. Both of them don't know where their minds are. You know what I mean?
I also think it says a lot about Lori's character because we love to drag Lori. She's a bad mom, we get it. But when one of the first things she does when approaching Kevin was saying, I respect your boundaries. I'm only here to say this. And I thought, wow, that's how you do it. That's appropriate. Like, you understand they have boundaries, and if they don't even want to talk to you, you walk away then. She knows her place. And I thought that was really, to me, that showed a lot of maturity and growth with her just in that one line. Because she could have immediately made it all about her, all about Tommy. But before she did that, she was like, I just want to let you know.
Well, you think she's learning because her kids don't want to talk to her.
Right. I think she's accepted that and knows that they have boundaries and is saying, I respect that. And I'm only here because of an emergency.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm with Jack on this. I felt that she can turn on the sensitivity lines when it comes to, because she's so worried about Tommy. You can see in the scene, like, her main focus is she's concerned that she'll never get her Tommy back now.
Right.
The other thing I was going to say was, I think Ethan already pointed this out, but where the conversation falls apart and we see some of that season 1 Kevin of him flipping out. I mean, you could see he's uttering words that don't make any sense to show that he's just completely falling apart.
All right.
Beyond seeing Patty, nothing he's saying makes sense at the end of that conversation.
Well, they did, like you said, they did a great job of it. Just didn't happen overnight. I mean, it's been going, from season 1, but also in this scene, like I said, he didn't know about this, didn't know about this, didn't know about this, and he's just like, you see his mind working. Like, how do I not know this? How do I not? Why wasn't Jill honest with me about? Again, why wouldn't Jill tell him that Tommy? They text back and forth.
And I just think the shock of seeing Lori again and her talking, and his desperate state, leads him to get help from the last person he would ever get help from, which is Lori.
Yeah, I like how he screams at Lori, "Get out of here! Go home! Leave!" Because she tells him that she's at some hotel, which you know is going to come into play later on. Because there's no reason to have that line if we're not going to see Kevin and Lori again.
And my favorite line is when he just go good.
Yeah. He's hitting the thing. He's so angry. Kevin goes to the fire department. They're doing palm prints. And he goes, "Oh, maybe I should leave."
Hey guys, I'm just gonna go here.
Yeah. And then John comes over and goes, "Yeah, see, you got my flyer. Trying to get all the innocent guys, trying to clear them all.
Right on the right list."
Yeah. No, I think John suspects Kevin.
Sure. Did you see the look he gives him?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I trust you, but I don't trust you. I want you to get your palm print so we can figure this out.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think he cared about the broken handcuff.
Yeah, because you just don't want you. Was it Nora's idea? Yeah, it was Nora's idea. Yeah, different stuff.
And no cutters at the firehouse.
No.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he lied about it, or was just trying to keep Kevin there a little bit longer to be like, "Hey, while you're here, do this."
Didn't Kevin have bolt cutters? What was it? Jill threw on the bed. Should look like
Jill. It was bolt cutters.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were.
He cut. I think he was able to cut. That's what I'm saying. It's broken, so he didn't have the key because the key was later.
I know. But if you have the cutters at your house,
I think the cutters just.
He may not have got them like around his
bed.
wrist.
We just you don't have to go around the wrist. Just have to get the edge.
I don't know how handcuffs work.
Yeah, man.
I'm just saying. The time I spent in prison when I escaped, I ate 50 eggs, and then I escaped and got captured and came back, and I did the whole chain gang thing. You guys know the movie Cool Hand Luke? You ever seen it?
I mean, yeah.
No.
I know Cool Hand Lou.
My husband's name is Luke.
If you've never seen Cool Hand Luke, put it on your list of movies to watch. It's a great movie. Paul Newman, all-star cast. But then he does the palm print, and he doesn't do a good job of hiding that he's concerned as it's going through as a fax machine or a scanner.
He looks guilty as hell.
Yeah.
Well, they've been telling for 2 or 3 episodes, the man has not been keeping it together very well.
I mean, all John had to do was watch his face. What are you so worried about, Kevin? You're innocent, aren't you?
Another innocent man exonerated.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, Jack, do you feel like whenever they want to show that John suspects something, they focus in on the toothpick?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The toothpick of suspicion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The toothpick of destiny.
I love when Patty's like, "You went there to get free and you got caught." She's just so blind.
Well, John tells me to go to the locksmith. Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. I can't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I was just there and it didn't work out too well.
And that's when we have that great conversation with Patty and Kevin. The only time Patty felt free is when she stabbed herself with a broken piece of glass. She felt free at that point.
So it's so sad. It really is sad. And they really start to building this almost from hindsight, this sympathy for Patty as well, like they're kind of doing with Lori a little bit.
Well, I think when you more do the more backstory you get with Patty, she was horribly mistreated by Neil, right?
Terribly.
Just terribly, and just to the point where, like you said, she went out and, when he left, what I did? I went and sat on the grass until the sprinklers came on. I mean, she never recovered from that whole experience. She put up with all this crap, and then he leaves her.
Yeah.
Right. So, anyway, you do have sympathy for Patty, as far as I'm concerned. Kevin comes home and Jill is sitting on the porch, and he's like, "This is awkward." And then Jill wants to know, what did you do? He goes, it's complicated. And she goes, I bet it's not. So is Jill right? Is it not complicated?
That's pretty complicated.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's complicated.
And I don't think he can tell her what's going on.
No.
I think it's complicated for Kevin. But I think it's, as we see later, pretty obvious, like to Lori in terms of her like medical opinion. But obviously the family and Nora being here and there, obviously that's things being complicated. But
he asks, she asks, he goes, were you just pretending?
Mm-hmm.
Just pretending to want a family? Because she bought into it. I think this is where she cried. I said she cried in the church, but this is where she tears up. I felt bad for Jill. I mean, that's again, and she goes, this is like we said before, this is the second time.
Yeah.
That's twice now, I believe.
Yes, twice now. Yeah.
It's a heartbreaker.
And then I think after that he goes to see. He's knocking on the hotel, and who do we see? Lori. And what did she say? I'm going to leave in the morning. Was she worried that Kevin was going to hit her?
I think she was probably worried that he was going to rage on her some. I don't think he was going to hit her.
I think it was more of the I respect your boundaries, I promise I'm leaving type thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she does this thing where she's so it's kind of easy for her to do, to slip back in pure shrink mode.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's an annoying thing to watch for me for some reason.
Yeah, but I would also say that the way that she can read his demeanor, but
right.
We see that Lori post GR is very practical, right? And she's dealing with a lot of adverse situations. So, the way that she kept like postponing paying the rent.
Right.
It's similar in this situation. Like, to get out of any sort of conflict, you just be like, I'll be out of your hair tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, there's a level of selfishness there. Obviously she left her family, obviously. And then, like you said, she didn't care about the rent and the building and blah, 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 even though she was trying to help people. And now it's like you're sitting here and you're able to tell Kevin how harmful these crazy beliefs are, yet you're participating in it and part of the problem and causing more people to be this way. What a hypocrite. You know what I mean? So, but it's selfish on her part because she's getting, paid for it.
Right.
I mean, she like when it hurts her and her family. Oh, it's bad. Well, I can get a book deal out of it. Oh, well, I can make money off this now. So I guess, if you want to throw that out there, that's kind of happening too. As much as I was like, Lori's turning the corner in this episode, but I do think the upcoming dialogue with her and Kevin's very, very important to the whole entire show.
Well, Kevin tells Lori that she's seeing, he's seeing and talking to Patty. And then Lori gets up to get a cigarette. And Kevin goes, can I get one of those? She goes, where did you hide the cigarettes? Trunk in my car, under the mailbox. So it was a kind of a lighthearted scene.
A lot of Garveys at their best callbacks.
Yeah. I think it was Lori's way of kind of breaking the ice with Kevin to kind of throw him off, what am I trying to say? Not throw him off, to throw him off his game, maybe, his kind of calm him down, maybe kind of a lighter moment. She's kind of being a professional right now.
She is, but she's also like, one of their big fights was about him smoking, and now she smokes, and they're like bonding over the fact that smoking's great. You know what I mean? But also she gets into this comfortable mode, but then she goes overboard with her jokes sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe if you listen to me more, this whole thing wouldn't have happened, kind of.
Well, Lori wants to know what Patty says, and then Kevin goes, she's saying, well, he can't. She only can. It's like I couldn't tell if you were to ask her something that only you and I know, or her and I know, she wouldn't answer it because she's not here. She's not real. But then we find out that Lori, the reason Kevin knows so much about her is that Lori was telling Kevin about Patty. And that's 100%. And that's 100% wrong on Lori's part.
It is 100%. But Patty brought this up to Kevin too in episode like 4, I think, when he goes with John to see Isaac, right? And my favorite line in the show, you took a shit on him, Kevin. In that scene, she's like, I'm wondering if that patient confidentiality is BS. Do you know all this? Do you already know? Did Lori tell you about all this?
Right.
Mhm.
But I'm saying Lori should not have told.
Of course
Kevin
not.
anything.
Of course not.
I mean, that's
But
just not-
I do believe psychiatrists and psychologists do this. I don't.
I'm sure they do, but you have where Kevin, maybe that's why there was friction with him when he was dealing with Patty, and his frustration of dealing with Patty, knowing that
What a basket case she was.
yeah, and the fact that Lori knew this and knew that she was a doom and gloom person, and still went and followed her.
Mm-hmm.
When the end of the world happens, what are you gonna do?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the frustration you get. Maybe that was a frustration because Kevin always had some. I mean, I had to deal with her because she was the leader of the GRs. He was the chief of police. But still, I think that was his frustration that we didn't get in season 1. We didn't understand why, the whole thing. He couldn't stand her because he knew her issues.
I agree. Give yourself some points for that, Jack. I like that.
I'm going to give myself. I'll give myself a point.
All right. Well, my Where's My Mind stuff deserves some points, so make sure you fix that.
All right. 3 points for you. Eckhart gets points because he's not saying anything.
Do I get points if I read Lori's monologue? That's so
Yes.
important to
Yes.
the show.
Yes.
And based off
Yes.
everything I've said this whole time.
Go ahead. I'll decide how many points you get on how well you read it.
Okay, in my southern accent. So Lori tells Kevin about Neil, and then Kevin says, she's there, she's real. And then Lori says, can I tell you about belief, Kevin? When the mind is in emotional distress, it will grasp at any construct that makes it feel better. After the 14th, the whole world needed to feel better. We were all in emotional distress. So that made us all susceptible to false belief, to be taken advantage of. And then she says, the reason I know this is because Tommy and I use it now. We convinced people that he could take their pain away just by hugging them. We had a story, we made it up, but it worked. And I mean, Tommy hated it, the lying, and I said it didn't matter as long as we were helping people, but he disagreed. And we had a fight, and he said that he couldn't. What I'm trying to say is that they believed it. Every single person that he laid his hands on, because their brains would sooner embrace magic than deal with feelings of fear and abandonment and guilt. And all of us turned to someone who could just turn it off. Why do you think I joined a fucking cult? And now you are manifesting the leader of that cult because you need someone to turn it off. There is no Patty, Kevin. There is only you. You need to go on medication and maybe go away for a little while. What you're dealing with is very serious, Kevin, and I know it's scary, but that's what you need to do. You need help.
15 points.
Cool. Go.
Now, this was also the thing that my wife pointed out, too, because Kevin would rather go see the magical black man on the edge of town than take medicine.
Yes.
Go away for a while.
Well, he's taken medicine, right?
He has taken medicine before,
A lot of medicine.
but he flushed it.
He flushed it.
Yep.
And Lori could be to blame for that because she may have left and he may have been like, well, did everything she tell me was a lie? Do I even need this medication? And just whoop. So out of anger, he could have done that.
No, specifically, his dad told him to flush that stuff.
True.
Dad was the one who took him off whatever the medical approach was.
Right. I had a question when we were reading that because in the GR, Patty has some animosity towards Lori. And we always thought because she was the patient. Now that we know she told Kevin everything, could she have told someone else and it got back to Patty?
I mean, I honestly think it's you're my husband. I'm at the end of the day, I'm complaining about my patients thing.
That's what I think.
That's what I think it is. Yeah.
But
All right.
I think when Lori says that, like, we're all susceptible to false belief and being taken advantage of, and that people would embrace magic instead of dealing with their own fear and abandonment and guilt. So that right there is what The Leftovers is about. I mean, this is what the characters are struggling with. Do I grab onto a belief that makes me feel better in this horrible, horrible situation that happened? Or do I deal with feeling guilty that I'm the only one that didn't depart in my family? Do I deal with that? Do I deal with my fear that it may happen again? Do I deal with the abandonment that I feel? All of these are the big core of the characters of the world building. And I know I say it every week, but this was just such a scene that I was like, oh my gosh, there it is. They're literally telling us right here. And we don't have to see a scene of Tommy hugging people. I know we already have, but we don't have to see that. We don't have to see the fallout between Tommy and Lori right now, because we are believing Lori. The acting's brilliant. She's telling us we're eating it up. We got it. We understand,
On the other hand, though, if I were Kevin, no matter what's going on through my mind, I'm not going to listen to this particular person tell me I need to take medicine and go away.
Right. So once again, I have something that I'm just taking that dialogue and fitting it into the narrative of the show. Ethan, you said you were better than this in the message.
But what are Kevin's?
What I said what?
You were like that. You said I know better than that because I'm smart. To Eckhart, but I don't remember what I was even saying. But
okay.
Well, I was saying, what are Kevin's options? He can go see the magical black guy who wants him to die. Nora has left him. I think he truly loves Nora. He's screwing up Jill's life again. Or does he take a chance on Lori, who seems pretty compassionate at this point?
No, yeah, right. So what I was saying is that, like, the dialogue encompasses the show, but not the character specifically, because absolutely Ethan's right. I think Kevin doesn't want to listen to a word Lori's got to say, even though from the viewer perspective, it feels like she's genuine. She knows what she's talking about and can help.
She's not. I don't think she's wrong in what she's suggesting. I think, but like I said, there's a trust issues with her. But again, at this point, what can he do? He's already got his palm print. That was another thing that we talked about, but that's another thing that's piled on top of everything that's going on in his life.
I think he's starting to clock that Lori sucks, but if I go do this thing and I don't come back, she's not sucked enough that Jill will be alone.
Right.
That's what I think.
That's a good point. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna give you 5 points for that.
Yeah, I think he's starting to already clock that. Like, I might need to go do this thing, and if I don't come back,
so is that why he brought Lori back?
I think that's really part of it. I really do.
Because he says to Lori, "Have you changed your last name?" No. Okay, I can get you a wristband. We're gonna get you in town. You can help me. And he goes, but doesn't. What's Jill gonna say? It's okay. I'll talk to her.
Yeah. Well, no.
But then Jill's not home, and then Nora calls. Oh, then Kevin did say he's sorry about the puppy, about the dog.
Yeah, and a lot of this is real parallels with the Certified episode in season 3 with those two. But just remember that, like, if we're not getting a third season of The Leftovers, we're saying goodbye to Lori and Kevin together, scenes together right now in this episode.
And be honest with you, I thought at the end of the season, I thought we were. I thought it was done. But Nora calls Kevin. She tells him, "Please stop calling." But I love you.
Isn't she at Matt's? Doesn't he know that?
But Matt's not there, is he?
No, Matt's not there, but it's still Matt's place with Mary.
But she goes, "Yeah, but where's the key?" He goes, and then he goes, "I left a note." He goes, "Oh, she was blocking it." And she's like going, oh. She knows right away. He's talking about Patty.
Yeah.
And Patty was sitting in that chair.
Mm-hmm.
So poor Kevin. The key was there the whole time.
So
And
I think that justifies in Nora's eyes, like, well, even if I help you, she's going to get in the way. Literally.
Right.
That's what happened,
But he tells Kevin, she tells Nora, I have a way to get rid of Patty. And if I get rid of Patty, you look into my eyes, will you take me back? Nora goes, I think I will. I will.
And they're hammering you with the Leftovers theme. They did it when he was talking to Jill. They're doing it here.
Yeah.
But would you believe me? And she said, I would believe you.
Yeah.
So we're like, and you would come back? It's like, I'd like that.
I said, oh no, Kevin's going to take the wrong path. No. And then Jill comes home, and who does she see? Mom.
That was the moment. Was that not the moment?
Well, hold on a second. Before I never knew. I like to point out things I never really paid attention to before, like this Lori looking over at the pictures.
Oh, I did write that down. I forgot to
hit me big this time. Like her looking at the new family pictures, and then Jill.
Well, she sees the baby walker.
She's the walker. She sees a picture with all with the kids all happy.
And the reason she went, well, I assume she went to the GR is because her baby departed.
Uh-huh.
Right. So is this having an emotional effect on Lori?
Yeah, but I think she's keeping the eye on the prize, and I think she knows that the thing here is Jill.
Yeah.
And we didn't touch on this at the very, very beginning, but do we know why Lori just assumed Nora was lying about Tommy not being there? Because she tells Kevin, I know Nora was lying and I know he's here, but it was like Nora wasn't lying. Why did she jump to that immediately?
Assuming maybe Kevin told her that to keep Tommy away from her.
Oh, she thought that Tommy was there so much that she thought that Kevin
she probably thought that Kevin probably told. She thinks that Kevin probably told Nora lie to keep me away.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Let's see.
Oh, and I just want to say when Kevin says sorry about the dog, right, to Lori, his dog is still in quarantine. I don't know if that has anything to do with him thinking about.
Oh, good point.
I
thought, where's the dog? But I forgot. So yeah.
It's not been 60 days yet. This dog's have to be quarantined for 60 days.
So yeah, Jill comes home.
She goes, "What are you doing here?" And you get to see the anger and just the I want to scratch her eyes out. Look,
betrayal from her father for bringing her here without telling her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Kevin, Jill's running to Dad, and then Kevin gets the cuff off. He drives. He squeals out of there, and she's like, "Dad, no, you're leaving with the person I can't stand. No." So this has to be a rough thing, even though Kevin is doing it for a reason. He wanted. I think you said it, Ethan. In case he doesn't come back, at least Jill has, because she doesn't have Nora anymore, right? Now, do you think Kevin would Kevin had done all this with with Lori, if Nora was still in the picture? Would he have brought Lori back to the house?
Well, wasn't the phone call with Nora what makes him want to try the quickest, easiest way for Patty to go away? I mean, after that phone call, he gets in the car and speeds off, like you said. So I think he, like you said, Ethan, the one person he's not going to trust is he doesn't want to go away. He doesn't want to take pills again, right?
Right.
So I think he did bring Lori there to take care of Jill because there was no one there for Jill.
I really think the more I think about it, I really think that's the main reason he
because he would have walked out the front door, not gone out.
Because once he talked to Jill and she said it happened to me twice, that's when he went to the hotel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The motel. We'll get to
hotel, yeah. So I honestly think that's why, because I think he would have said something on the way out. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. I'll explain everything in a minute. But no, I think he did that on purpose. In fact, it's kind of doing but that's why my question is, if Nora hadn't left, would he even bother bringing Lori back into Jill's life?
I don't think so. That wouldn't have been appropriate, but Kevin's not in his right mind right now, so that's hard to say.
Yeah.
He's not in his right frame of mind, but I think he did the right thing, kind of. I mean, he's trying to do the right thing.
In the situation he was in, he did the right thing.
Yeah, because if he dies, he doesn't come back, Jill literally has nobody.
Well, he did the right thing in terms of technically talking to a therapist, but then he did not take her advice, which, I mean, it's understandable why, but like that would have been the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
All right. So then we go and Kevin cuts off the gut drug roll, but Michael looks upset when he walks and sees Kevin. He says, "God be with you." So obviously Michael knows what's going to happen. He knows the whole plan. He knows what Virgil's going to do. He knows what he's going to do to Kevin, the whole enchilada, right? Kevin says he's ready. Virgil needs more light bulbs. You get 5 minutes. And Kevin tells Virgil, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I want to live. And then Kevin's about to take a drink, and Patty says, "Wait, Kevin." So Patty is right. I mean, it's Kevin talking. But isn't Patty right here? Don't take the drink, Kevin.
Yeah, she's like, "I'm glad you're finally taking action, but let's think about this for a second. This is a big step for us, and we don't really know him. If I'm understanding right, his primary qualification is that he's a pedophile."
Right, exactly.
So once again, she's like, "Why are you, or Kevin to himself or whatever you want to say, why am I taking the advice from this person?"
Well, I like how she says what he's doing to us, what he's going to do to us. So I thought that was a good line.
She is acting, her face is saying the opposite of her mouth in every second of this scene.
Well, she cheers up in this, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I mean, it was fantastic. It was very intense. This whole episode was really intense.
And she's yelling at him. She just spent an hour trying to get him to kill himself. He's about to do it, and now she's pleading with him to stop.
Yeah. And she says, "I absolutely want you to do it." But when she says it, on her face is like, "Boy, you better not do that." you know, she's thinking that.
Well, then you have Virgil going, "What did she say? What is she saying?" He believes that she's there. He doesn't want Patty to talk Kevin out of it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And Virgil is willing to kill himself to make this man feel better.
Yeah,
which is shocking to me. But this scene is like a direct answer to the things that the Walking Dead had been doing at the time. Pretending that people were dead for weeks under dumpsters and then bringing them back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's when the show really got bad.
And it all happened at this time. We were faithfully watching The Walking Dead.
Okay, we won't talk about Glenn or whoever that was. I think that's who
it was. Glenn.
But I think it's fascinating. I didn't catch this the first time around, but I obviously caught it this time. That Kevin makes a reference to the conversation that he had with his father.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the last thing he talks about before he commits to this.
Yep.
And it ties up so beautifully from a writing standpoint with, I guess, what either Caleb or Ethan said about her saying one thing with her words and mouth and the facial expression, body language saying something else.
Yeah, it was just a fantastic scene to watch. I thought it was just everything going on. Virgil, Patty, Kevin, it was just so intense. And you're like going, okay, don't drink this. I remember when I watched it the first time. No, don't drink this, Kevin. No, Kevin. How are they going to kill him off? What's going to be left after he's gone? I mean, literally, that's what, especially at the end of the episode, I'm like going, because you have Virgil says, after 5 minutes, this will bring you back. The syringe filled with something. This will bring you back. So Kevin drinks it, and he's, got the foam coming out of his mouth and nose, and he goes, "I know it's painful, son. I know it's painful." And then after he stops, Virgil takes the syringe and squirts all the stuff onto the ground.
For the audience, that's for the audience. That's really for the audience.
Yeah. Then he takes a gun and blows his brains out. And Michael comes in just very calm. All right. Let me drag Kevin out.
And
that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, I remember when that scene, watching that scene the first time, being like literally blown away, right? Pun intended.
Yeah.
But also thinking, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You can do this in a show.
Well, I was like going, okay. Well, that's I said earlier, a few minutes ago. I said Kevin's dead. I mean, I guess I could bring him around like a patty, but I go, he's kind of like the key to the whole show, right? Him and Nora.
I want to
Nora's gone. Kevin is dead.
I want to read the lyrics to the song that was playing at the end. It's Duke Ellington, "Solitude." In my solitude, you haunt me with reveries of days gone by. In my solitude, you taunt me with memories that never die. I sit in my chair. I'm filled with despair. There's no one could be so sad. With gloom everywhere, I sit and I stare. I go that I'll soon go mad. In my solitude, I'm praying, dear Lord above, send me back my love. Which kind of fits with everything that's going on here.
But I just, like I said, I had no idea.
I was shocked. I was dumbstruck. I was shocked. I had to go online and find my good old friends Jay and Jack, that they were there for me.
And they had no answers for you.
This ties into something I've been wanting to talk about, and this is why I want to talk to Ro. Okay, Ro posted this on Facebook.
She's not here.
I know she's not here. I understand. Okay, but it has to go in this episode. She posted this on Facebook. I've watched a lot of television shows over the years, and I have many favorites, and they are spectacular, and I watch them again and again. West Wing, MASH, Star Trek, Next Generation, Lost. But pound for pound, minute by minute, line by line, performance by performance, Ted Lasso is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Ever. I'm rewatching season 1 right now. I'm just blown away. You should watch it if you want to. Ethan, what does this have to do with The Leftovers in any way?
She didn't mention The Leftovers?
She didn't, but that's not reason.
All right, that's another reason to pile on next week.
Yeah. No. Why she likes Ted Lasso is why I like The Leftovers. Because at this stage of watching The Leftovers, did any of us expect any of this?
No.
Were any of us? I had the reason why the season is so good to me is because I wasn't it went to places I never ever imagined.
Well, go ahead.
And it came out of nowhere because it's like it's a Lindelof show, and I'm definitely going to watch it. And I like the first season. I'm watching the second season, and every week I'm starting to beg my wife, "Can we please watch Leftovers before we watch The Walking Dead? It's getting better." And this is the episode that switched it in my house. We switched, we started watching Leftovers first.
But I think what they did is season 2, like we talked about it, I think when we started season 2 recap, they're going to Texas. The hell are they doing? And even the opening scene where it's Cave Woman, they just took so many chances and they nailed it. They just nailed it. I mean, how many shows can say that they just turned everything around? They got rid of the twins, right?
Thank God.
And they took this show that a lot of people unfortunately never watched, but the loyal fans that stuck with it, and they completely just turned it around.
Like a ball of yarn wadded up in the floor, and then you just grab it by string, and it's like one straight line. It all ties together. It's one of the, well, I've said 1,000 times, probably the best season of television ever. And like I said, this episode, wasn't a cliffhanger. No, most shows, this would have been the final episode of the season.
Right.
But of course they didn't know they were going to come back. So that would have been terrible to leave this as a cliffhanger if they didn't come back. So to do it on this is the 7th episode?
Mm-hmm.
Again, most episodes, this would have been the cliffhanger. We're like, for next year, we're like going, okay, is Kevin alive? Kevin dead? Kevin alive? Kevin dead?
Or you would have got an answer if it was Walking Dead or something for another 4 episodes or something stupid.
Right. So I just thought this was just brilliant.
And Caleb, go ahead.
On top of that, the entire season builds. Like every episode gets better and better. And when we think that it can't get any better or go to somewhere different, it explores another route. And that's obviously what's coming next week.
Yeah.
And my last TV comparison is because Caleb said he didn't realize how much mental illness stuff there was in this episode. And this episode reminded me of Game of Thrones, another show I wanted to compare it to, is because the Red Wedding, right? Who's seen it? Anyone here seen that? Right.
I've not seen it, so no spoilers. If you have to do spoilers, I'm going to take
them out.
Okay.
Take them out just for a second. We know what happens at the end of the Red Wedding, right? We know that.
Right.
Plug it back in. You can plug it back in. Put it back in. Put it back. But the thing is, if you look at that episode, there's nothing really in that episode until that thing happens at the end.
It was okay. Well, I was
like the rest of the episode is kind of like forgettable. I think. In this episode, the shock of the last 5 minutes kind of overshadows what is an amazing episode sometimes. And that's why the things hit me so hard this time with Lori coming back and the music and just all the mental health stuff that you don't realize is there because you're kind of always thinking about this thing that we know is going to happen at the end.
Right. Well, like I said, we didn't know this the first time. No. Because again, when I first watched it, I was like going, okay, good. He didn't. When he leaves Virgil, I go, okay, good. He didn't kill himself. That's great. I love Kevin. I don't want him to kill himself. And then when he goes back to Virgil, I'm going, dude, what are you doing? Patty, talk him out of it. Patty, talk him out of it. You know what would help him, Patty? If you just left.
But it's also one of those things where it's like they do the epinephrine thing and they do the gun thing. So everything Virgil told him is a lie.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we also have, we didn't actually discuss this, I don't think, but, or the consequences of it, of that he says, he gave him the rope and all that to go jump in the water, but that then there was an earthquake.
Right.
So as viewers, we're thinking, okay, how much of that's a coincidence? How much of this is, a higher power belief or whatever? What's going on? And that's like just a one line in this episode. Like you said, Ethan, there's so many things that is said throughout the episode that by the final actions, you kind of forget a lot of it.
As we were recapping, we were making a case for Kevin being pushed over the edge. That things, the not knowing everything about his family, Nora leaving him, just boom, one thing after another. The palm print, it's just a subtle scene that he gets, and he knows his palm is going to come back. He's a cop. He knows that he's going to be identified as the guy's, that's going to be his palm print on there. So everything, boom, 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 boom. And then at the end, it just,
Yeah. It looks like Eugene is asking what show. So we should probably let him know it's The Leftovers.
The Leftovers, HBO show.
We're watching The Leftovers. I compared it to an episode of Game of Thrones. A very forgettable episode of Game of Thrones, except for one scene. And, I just want to say that this show is the opposite of that. Nothing about this episode is forgettable, including the ending. But all the stuff in the middle is, pretty classic gold leftover stuff.
Hope that helped.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to talk about? You, Eckhart, you've been chatty Cathy all night long.
I keep thinking now as I look at my background picture how much Lou looks like the personification of an orca.
The what? Lou?
Lou looks like the personification of an orca whale.
Someone on Reddit wrote in and said, this is spoiler territory stuff. It almost feels like about the wishing cup speech, okay? It almost feels like foreshadowing for the ridiculousness of the hotel world and further telegraphing that world is a representation or manifestation of Kevin's demon's mental illness, since this statement is clearly meant to be a ridiculous and nonsensical response from Patty, one she even shows and regards as such at the moment after speaking it, which I liked.
It's a good point.
I read it.
And
that was from Reddit user crafty_associate9651.
I'm glad we gave them credit. Randy asks, why did Virgil kill or help Kevin to supposedly ease his pain? Why does Virgil kill himself? To escape arrest and prison?
These might be really good questions for next week. I don't know. I think they're really good questions for next week.
All right, we'll wait and answer that next week.
Yeah, Randy. I don't want to get too much into next week until next week because it's next week.
Next week we'll have a person on here, Ro, who's usually in the chat, who just hates.
Is she going to be in the box with us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting!
It is
Yay!
And she made it very clear on Twitter. She didn't say she didn't like it. She said it wasn't better than the other episodes in this season.
We're
going to be like, okay, Ro.
I didn't hear that. I heard she hated it more than life itself. In fact, she hated it so much she'd rather talk about Ted Lasso,
which I'm totally willing to do.
So she'll be here to defend herself next week.
Oh,
yeah. Bring your stones, your rocks and stuff like this. We'll have a whole Gladys thing going on.
and next week's going to be really challenging. Simply because it's really a hard, difficult episode to discuss in a linear sense, without just discussing ideas all the time.
I'm excited because I haven't seen the episode since it aired.
Well, you're in it. Your body double, so.
That's true. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
But sometimes I don't like to watch the work.
Right. You can't watch yourself.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, what I let myself go.
I will probably agree if Ro brings up a certain point, I will agree with her that it is distracting and could have been done in a different way.
What, he takes a bath with his clothes on?
No, I'm thinking like this is a legitimate thing.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that was distracting. So anyway,
but please, everybody, look for that conversation between Justin Theroux and Ann Dowd from this year.
After you've watched the full show, probably.
You should probably watch the whole series of The Leftovers if you haven't seen it first.
All right, guys, we'll be back next month. We're back next Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Be here as we battle Ro. That's all I got. Bye, everybody.
Later. Thanks.
Bye.